The show starts with Lee Yoonbi, a second-year high school student. Residing in Tongyong City, Yoonbi's ambition is to become a teacher who empathetically understands her students and uncovers their concealed truths. Sadly, we learn that Yoonbi is subjected to cruel bullying at her high school. At one time, her bully So Young leads her to a supposedly special birthday surprise, only to corner her. The bully and her minions turn Yoonbi into a makeshift birthday cake, pelting her with eggs, flour, and fish sauce. While the bullies revel in their malicious laughter, Yoonbi struggles to hold back her tears. As a consequence of the incident, Yoonbi is forced to wear her gym clothes for the remainder of the school day. Everyone around her starts making fun of the strong smell of fish sauce. At home, Yoonbi's life is happier. She's like a big sister at Love's house, an orphanage where she grew up. She makes sure the younger kids eat their veggies and looks out for them. One day, she gets a surprise package in the mail from someone named Song Mi-kyung. The note says that Mi-kyung bought a sweatshirt for Yoonbi while shopping for her own daughter. Yoonbi is amazed by how well the gifts match her size and style. Meanwhile in Seoul, we meet Go Yoonbi-ul, who looks just like Yoonbi. It turns out her mum is named Song Mi-kyung. Yoonbi-ul and her mum share a loving relationship. She teasingly complains about her mum's overpacking for her school trip to a famous temple in Tongyang, which will last for 4 days. Interestingly, her mum spots the matching sweatshirt in Yoonbi-ul's bag, which Yoonbi-ul reveals to have been bought for the trip. It seems Yoonbi-ul sent the same sweatshirt to Yoonbi using her mum's name. This makes us wonder whether Yoonbi-ul knows that she has a twin sister who looks exactly like her. Unlike her sister, Yoonbi-ul is bossy and popular at school. She has a close-knit group of friends, especially Songju, with whom she coordinates outfits perfectly. As the class heads to Tongyang by bus, 2 boys are missing from the trip, including Han Yeon. He's absent because he's a swimming champion competing in a national meet. Yoonbi-ul eagerly listens to a live sports broadcast to follow his race, and her face lights up when she hears he's won. Although she secretly has a crush on him, she keeps it hidden from her best friend, Songju. Through their bashful text messages, it's evident that Yeon feels the same way about Yoonbi-ul, and their crushes on each other date back to their childhood. In a sweet flashback, young Yoonbi-ul admires Yeon's swimming medals and asks for one. He refuses, but promises her the first medal he wins at the national level. She pouts, not believing he'd actually do it when he won't even give her a small medal. Yeon playfully calls her a dummy, explaining that he won't give her that one because it's trivial. He'll give her an important one. In the present, Yoonbi-ul's mood takes a sharp turn when she receives a text from a girl named Young Soo-in. The message reads, "Just because it's in the past doesn't mean it never happened." She freezes in shock, feeling scared and perhaps even guilty. For the rest of the day, she becomes quiet despite her friends' efforts to cheer her up. When Songju tries to get her to talk or eat, Yoonbi-ul unexpectedly snaps and yells at her loudly. Meanwhile, as the school trip arrives in Tongyang, the scene shifts to Yoonbi-ul at Love's house. Even though Love's house used to be a haven for Yoonbi-ul, today her tormentors make an unwelcome appearance for more bullying. Putting on fake smiles, they deceive the director by claiming they're concerned about Yoonbi-ul and want to help out with their community service project there. But once they're alone with Yoonbi-ul, their facade fades and they resume their sneering and mean threats. So Young, the main bully, feels invincible because of her powerful father. She even mentions to the orphanage director that her father is involved with a scholarship committee and offers to help Love's house. Meanwhile, the other high school students settle into their hotel rooms, enjoying games and fun activities. Yoonbi-ul, however, remains in a dull mood and reads a newspaper clipping featuring Love's house with a photo of Yoonbi-ul in it. Later that night, Yoonbi-ul receives a phone call that prompts her to slip away secretly. A little while later, one of her besties, Shijin, steps out for her own call and notices Yoonbi-ul in the distance. She witnesses what appears to be a tense encounter between Yoonbi-ul and a mysterious boy. Meanwhile, Yoonbi-ul confronts So Young about the scholarship opportunity. Although she hates So Young, Yoon Byul realizes she can't afford to pass up this chance and asks for her help in securing it. So Young agrees to speak with her father and requests Yoon Byul's phone. Anxiously awaiting, Yoon Byul watches as So Young sends text messages. To her horror, So Young begins sending fake threats to her father under Yoon Byul's name, laughing about it all the while. This pushes Yoon Byul to her breaking point. She grabs a nearby wooden stick and confronts So Young, calling her out as the worst and pitiful. So Young, angered by the accusation, notices the CCTV above them and provokes Yoon Byul to hit her. As they struggle, So Young grabs the stick, resulting in a scuffle that sends her crashing into a pile of debris. Yoon Byul, seeing the danger, leaps to shield So Young. Just then, a stack of beams and pipes collapses on them, knocking them both unconscious. Elsewhere, Yoon Byul continues to be preoccupied with her secret issue. Shijin catches a glimpse of a bruise on her neck. It reminds her of the brief scene she witnessed the night before, but she's unsure how to handle this new information. We eventually learn that one of Yoon Byul's goals for the trip is to reconnect with Yoon Byul. She dials Yoon Byul's cell phone number that she retrieved from the orphanage. Coincidentally, Yoon Byul is working at a nearby cafe and notices her phone ringing, but the call cuts abruptly before she can pick up. Feeling disappointed, Yoon Byul goes to a bathroom stall. As everyone else leaves, the bathroom lights flick off, but footsteps draw closer and closer to her stall. Nervous, Yoon Byul calls out, only to panic when she hears someone approaching. She yells in fear and the scene suddenly cuts to the photo shoot outside. The rest of the class gathers for a group photo, but they're unaware that Yoon Byul is missing. Just then, Yoon Byul walks by and gets captured in the group photo. The classmates only realize that Yoon Byul is missing when they conduct a headcount. The school group then splits into search parties to look for Yoon Byul. Meanwhile, at his swim meet, Yoon receives a call from a friend about Yoon Byul's disappearance just before his final race. The news shakes him so much that he doesn't even participate in the race, instead wondering where Yoon Byul could be. At the same time, Yoon Byul's mum hears about her daughter's disappearance and rushes to Tongyang. While all this is happening, Yoon B is summoned in front of the school board due to the incident from the previous night. She seems to have escaped serious injury from the accident, but So Young is exaggerating her trauma and pretending to be the victim. Her mother accuses Yoon Byul of being the instigator and demands justice from the school. As a result, the teachers urge Yoon B to apologize, but she refuses as she's tired of being treated unfairly. She defends herself, insisting that she hasn't done anything wrong. However, because So Young comes from a powerful family, and Yoon Byul is just an ordinary student, she gets expelled from the school. Despite this, she decides to attend her last day of school. On her last day, Yoon Byul faces further harassment from So Young and her friends. Yoon Byul questions So Young about why she hates her and bullies her so much. So Young blatantly says that she hates everything about Yoon Byul without explanation. Despite standing up to So Young, Yoon Byul is outnumbered and overpowered by her bullies. She's dragged behind curtains while So Young makes her minions strip off her clothes and record her. So Young then threatens to post the video if she ever crosses them again. Yoon Byul manages to break free and flee the school, leaving behind her name tag in the yard. Later, a body splashes into the water, presumably Yoon Byul's, wearing the matching sweatshirt she received in the mail. The scene then shifts to her empty desk, where she carved a farewell message that reads, "Goodbye, friends." 10 days later, Yoon Byul is still missing. Her mum can't bear to return home to face Yoon Byul's empty room, but vows to find her and bring her back. Mum then walks through the streets at Tongyang, handing out flyers with Yoon Byul's picture. Back at her hotel room, Mum sits among stacks of missing person posters. Suddenly, a phone call interrupts her, prompting her to rush out again. Arriving at the hospital, Mum approaches a curtain, behind which she believes Yoon Byul is recovering. However, it's actually Yoon Byul lying injured. Despite her wounds, Yoon Byul, who had attempted suicide, is alive. Mum falls to her knees, clutching Yoon Byul's hands and thanking God. Since Yoon Byul and Yoon Byul are twins who share identical facial features, nobody can tell them apart, not even Mum. Therefore, Mum believes that the person lying in the hospital bed is actually Yoon Byul, not Yoon Byul. When Yoon Byul awakens, she doesn't recognize her mum. The doctor explains that Yoon Byul has trauma-induced amnesia. Since Yoon Byul has lost her memories, she also believes herself to be Yoon Byul. It's only when she starts regaining her memories slowly that she learns the actual truth. Later, the bully So Young runs into Yoon Byul at the hospital. Seeing that Yoon Byul doesn't recognize her, So Young tries to jog her memory by pulling her hair. Thankfully, Mum returns just in time to defend Yoon Byul. This prompts the bully to back off as she is even threatened by the police. So Young then apologizes and leaves, but she seems confused because she's aware that Yoon Byul never had parents as she grew up in an orphanage. Elsewhere, Yeon is listening to music, but his mind is troubled by memories from 10 days ago. In a flashback, we see Yeon skipping his swimming competition to meet with Yoon Byul. It turns out that the person Shijin saw Yoon Byul arguing with was actually Yeon. Yoon Byul is cold towards him, but he remains patient. Yeon offers his gold medal and hints at the promise he made to Yoon Byul 7 years ago. However, Yoon Byul expresses that she doesn't remember or want to remember. Despite Yeon's cute offer to let her hit him until she feels better, Yoon Byul remains unmoved. She tells him they've grown apart over the years and there's nothing more he can do for her. In the present, Yeon puts his headphones back on, pondering Yoon Byul's words before her disappearance. Meanwhile, a boy in a hospital gown descends to the side of the hospital building using a makeshift sling. Despite the nurse's frantic protests, the boy, Gong Tae-gwang, remains calm and jokes about her denying his request for leave. As he descends, Tae-gwang stops outside Yoon Byul's room and waves to her, mistaking her for Yoon Byul. When Yoon Byul doesn't respond, he remarks on her supposed rudeness. As Tae-gwang descends, his rope slips, momentarily causing panic for Yoon Byul. She then rushes to the window to check on him. Fortunately, he lands safely on the ground. Following his stunt, Tae-gwang meets up with Yoon Byul's best friend, Song-ju, and they grab a burger together. Tae-gwang eats hungrily, joking that she should have at least 3 burgers after going through the trouble of escaping. He suddenly remembers that Yoon Byul is also at the hospital, and Song-ju scolds him for not mentioning it sooner. She then calls Yeon to inform him. Shortly after, Yeon arrives at the hospital and spots Yoon Byul in the lobby. He notices her drop her wallet. He quickly retrieves it for her, but to his surprise, she merely thanks him politely and continues on her way without any sign of recognition. Determined to figure out why she doesn't seem to remember him, Yeon follows her into the elevator. His intense attention makes Yoon Byul uneasy. She subtly moves away from him and exits her floor. Undiscouraged, Yeon follows her again, calling out her name. As he approaches her, Yeon recalls Yoon Byul's words about them growing apart. Despite the changes, he realizes he still cares deeply for her and is relieved that she's safe. With these thoughts in mind, he pulls Yoon Byul into a heartfelt embrace. Yoon Byul is caught off guard, so she quickly tries to break free from Yeon's embrace. Yeon, equally surprised by her reaction and the fact that she speaks formally, playfully restrains her while she struggles to get away. Their scuffle is interrupted by Song-ju, who arrives just in time to stop the playful wrestling. Yoon Byul then explains her amnesia to Song-ju. Seeing Yoon Byul's unusually cheerful demeanor, both Song-ju and Yeon are finally convinced that their friend has lost her memories. Once back at home, Yoon Byul settles in and begins familiarizing herself with her surroundings, trying to recall what she believes she's forgotten. While exploring her room, she discovers Yoon Byul's notebook, which contains a picture of the Love House orphanage. However, before she can delve deeper, Mum asks her to join her. Mum engages Yoon Byul in looking through a picture scrapbook, hoping it will trigger her memories. As they flip through the pages, Yoon Byul learns that she was adopted as a child. The next morning, Song-ju and Shijin enthusiastically welcome Yoon Byul back to school. Here, everyone believes Yoon Byul to be Yoon Byul. Yoon Byul enters her classroom, where her classmates are taken aback by her newfound, polite, and hesitant demeanor. Later, when she walks through the hallway, she overhears some students gossiping about her amnesia. This suddenly triggers a distant memory of similar negative attention Yoon Byul got at her real school. She is then momentarily paralyzed, but snaps back quickly when the class president calls her. That evening, Yoon Byul's mother witnesses a police car taking a maid away from her neighbor's house. The neighbor's daughter, Young Yoon, is a classmate of Yoon Byul. It's revealed that the maid has been reported for stealing jewelry. The next day at school, Yoon Byul struggles to open her locker as she doesn't remember the passcode. Tae-gwang helps her by breaking the lock with a chair. Inside, Yoon Byul finds a piece of stolen jewelry belonging to Young Yoon's mother. As whispers spread in the classroom, Yeon suddenly enters the classroom, takes Yoon Byul's hand, and leads her out. In the next scene, all the students are interrogated to find the culprit behind the stolen jewelry. In an interview, Young Yoon talks about how students are indifferent to each other. When asked about Yoon Byul, she hesitates and says they were friends once, but not anymore. She even tells teacher Kim that Yoon Byul supposedly demanded money, so Young Yoon stole her mother's necklace, which later turned up in Yoon Byul's locker. Following this revelation, Young Yoon's mother demands a formal hearing, but teacher Kim, considering Yoon Byul's amnesia, lets the matter rest for now. After the incident, Young Yoon struggles to accept Yoon Byul's attempts to reach out. However, she recalls the friendly interactions they had at the beginning of the school year. Despite this, she chooses to ignore Yoon Byul's phone calls. The next morning, Yeon coincidentally passes by Yoon Byul's house during his jog. He convinces her to join him for a walk by the river. During the conversation, Yeon notices Yoon Byul's healed wound on her neck, which she doesn't recall having. This detail troubles him, but he tries to dismiss it. We learn that it's actually the wound that Yoon Byul had on her neck before she went missing. In the meantime, Young Yoon's mother pushes for a school hearing regarding the stolen necklace. Since Yoon Byul can't recall the events, teacher Kim is tasked with investigating. At school, Tae-gwang tries to impress Yoon Byul with fabricated stories about their past, claiming she had a crush on him. However, she sees through his lies and believes that he's mocking her. He then reveals a genuine memory. He has a habit of breaking her locker, and the day before when he broke it, it was not the first time he did so. Later in the hallway, Shijin accidentally reveals that they used Young Yoon like an ATM. Feeling guilty, Yoon Byul notices Young Yoon has overheard their conversation. When her friends gossip about Young Yoon during lunch, it triggers another memory. She was a victim in a similar situation. It seems that Yoon Byul is slowly regaining her memories and eventually realizing her true identity. The following day at the library, popular girls including Song-ju confronts Young Yoon. Young Yoon finally reveals that her desperation for friendship led her to pay for their outings. She felt like she was always left out of the class. As a loner, she wanted to make friends and become popular just like Yoon Byul. Therefore, she would pay for all of their bills, hoping that they would accept her as a friend. She then tearfully leaves the scene. Later that night, Yoon Byul finds Young Yoon alone at the lockers. She rightly guesses that they switched lockers before the class trip. She became aware of this when Tae-gwang mentioned that her locker was always broken. Yoon Byul then opens Young Yoon's locker and discovers her own books inside. It confirms her theory that they had switched their lockers. She then confronts Young Yoon, asking if framing her was due to the locker mix-up or because she dislikes her. Young Yoon finally admits that she did it intentionally to ruin Yoon Byul's reputation and make her feel embarrassed. Overwhelmed with emotion, Young Yoon breaks down in tears. After learning the truth, Yoon Byul spends time with Yeon by the pool. She's concerned about the disciplinary hearing. To cheer her up, Yeon starts a playful water fight that turns into a full-on splashing frenzy. Amidst the fun, Yoon Byul accidentally falls into the swimming pool. This triggers vivid memories of her past bullying and a moment of contemplating suicide on a bridge. At this time, she finally recalls that it was Yoon Byul who saved her. Shocked by this revelation, Yoon Byul snaps back to the present and wonders where Yoon Byul might be now. At the same time, Yeon rushes to her aid and wraps a jacket around her. Yoon Byul is visibly distressed as tears stream down her face. Arriving home, she searches her room until she finds a notebook from her luggage containing a photo of herself at the orphanage. She becomes certain that she is Yoon Byul, not Yoon Byul. Following this revelation, the weight of her past trauma hits Yoon Byul hard. She struggles to process the memories of her bullying experiences and the pain that led her to contemplate suicide. When her mum enters the room, Yoon Byul, overcome with emotion, hugs her tightly. The following day at school, Yoon Byul informs the teachers that she has regained her memories. At the same time, young Yoon confesses to teacher Kim that she lied about the stolen jewelry out of panic. However, when they arrive at the disciplinary hearing, they find Yoon Byul admitting to her guilt, confessing to bullying young Yoon, and using hurtful words like, "I'm not going to be friends with you anymore." Young Yoon is stunned to hear Yoon Byul echoing her own feelings of loneliness and rejection. The hearing eventually ends with a compromise. Outside the room, young Yoon is surprised to find a remote-controlled car inviting her to follow it. The car leads her to her locker, where she discovers a heartfelt card from Yoon Byul. In the card, Yoon Byul mentions that she wants to mend their relationship and offers friendship. The gesture moves young Yoon to tears. After settling the matters at school, Yoon Byul leaves her phone behind and leaves a diary and a letter for her mum. She walks with Yeon after school and bids a formal goodbye to him. As Yoon Byul walks away, Yeon waves goodbye, completely unaware of the tears streaming down her face.